Hello class, this is your first studio lesson for Kachinas, and today we're going to talk about inspiration and design. So reviewing our basic information, the who we are talking about are the Native Americans, the Hopi and the Zuni, the people of the Pueblos, and also the Navajo who assimilated some of the Kachina practices. What we are learning about are Kachinas. Our location is the Southwest United States. Our time period, Kachinas are seasonal, starting in December, running to July, but the main opening ceremonies start in February. The purpose, they are renewal of land, life, seasons, and water, and also teaching people how to be good. The how, Kachinas appear in three forms: spirits, dancers, and dolls. We are studying the first two, and we are creating a Kachina-inspired sculpture. So, Kachina are spirits, and they're an important part of the Hopi religion. Kachina dolls are made to look like Kachinas and are given to children as a way to teach them stories, beliefs, and traditions. Traditionally, they are given to girls, and you get them twice a year from the time you're born until you're 10, once in February at the opening ceremonies, if you're a good kid, and then once in July at the closing ceremonies, if you're a good kid. You also get them when you become a new bride and your mother presents you to the spirits. Boys get other things, but in modern times, everybody kind of gets Kachinas. Everything visual that you see on a Kachina has importance. The colors, the lines, the designs, the materials. You have room for creative flexibility, but a lot of these things, like his bells and the wreath around his neck and the way his feathers are on his head, all of those things are important to the purpose of the Kachina. Traditional Kachina dolls are carved from the root of cottonwood trees. This is a picture of a cottonwood tree, and they are important because their growth signals that water is present underground. So what you're looking at is the desert, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a tree. The tree is growing out of an arroyo, which is this area. It's an area that floods during when it rains, and it can be really dangerous if you're traveling in the desert and you get caught on an arroyo, because the floods come out of nowhere and they tend to be very forceful. But that also means that there is a water table under here, and cottonwoods have very deep roots, and it shows people, the Hopi in the desert, that this is an area that could be farmed. Cottonwood is light, it's easy to carve, and there are two resource videos on the assignment, a short one that's 2 minutes, another one that's 6 minutes, that are interviews with traditional Hopi carvers and other carvers, and they will explain more and show you the process. Basically, the traditional process, you start with a single root for the body. You do roots rather than branches. Roots tend to be a little sturdier because they're denser. And most of your basic shape is carved from this. So you can see they took this natural root form and kind of carved out this shape. And then you carve additional parts and details. Then you painted the base colors. And then when it's dry, you add the details of the painting. And then the very last step is adding tiny items. The one that's in the image doesn't have them, but like bows and yucca whips, and sometimes beads and feathers, fur, leather. In this case, this is a butterfly maiden, and her headdress was made separately and then attached. But all of those details are critical to identifying the type of the Kachina and honoring its spirit. So my disclaimer: we are not making real Kachina dolls. We are not Hopi or Pueblo people, and we're not making these for religious purposes. These are artistic replicas for educational purposes. We're making these in conjunction with the study of the context of Hopi culture and awareness of the meaning and tradition of the craft. We're creating our art with all the respect given to the original cultural expression. And please remember, it's always important to recognize that art and craft from another culture belongs to them, has meaning beyond decoration, and should be treated with respect and not duplicated for profit. Plus, it would be extremely illegal to make and sell a Kachina doll if you were not a Hopi Indian, even though people do it. It's not right. Your studio prompt is you are going to create a sculpture that's an interpretation of a Kachina doll. You're going to create a design based on the study of one of the traditional Kachinas. This is using the cultural craft as inspiration for your design. And our sculpture, though, will be created with non-traditional materials, including wire and foil and sculpey. This is a painting of an original Kachina. It's one whose design I created based on traditional Kachinas, but it has to do with a specific historic event that happened, and that is why he is dressed the way he is and holds the dynamite. So for your very first step, you're going to design. So for this step, you need your Chromebook, paper, your sketchbook, a pencil eraser, and colored pencils or watercolors. There are some resource links. Read through the list of Kachinas. Find some that you think interesting. Google them to see what they look like. Or you can work backwards and start by doing a Google image search for Kachina and then find out the meaning of one that you find attractive and that you like. Make sure you write down their name, because I totally expect you to know what they mean and what they do, as well as just creating it. Over here you have a design of Tocha, who is the hummingbird, and he is a whipper and eraser. In his hand he holds a yucca whip, which is used to whip people who don't win the race, and also people and children who are bad, and to control the clowns. Tocha always has two colors that he wears on half of the body, yellow and blue. And then he's got his green boots. Everything on him means something. So when you are designing for sculpture, remember sculptures are three-dimensional art. And that means your Kachina must be able to balance. When you're drawing it, you need to think about its position. If it's standing on one leg, that's much more difficult than standing with both legs on the ground. And think about how it's going to look from all sides. So some of you in class are experienced with sculpture. You've done this before, and you could try a more challenging pose. If you're a beginner at sculpture, stick with 2 feet on the ground. So here are two ogre Kachinas. The one on the left, its pose is very dynamic, but it would be hard to balance. It has the 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot in the air, and his arms are out and to the side and in the air. And if you have questions about, is it hard to balance, put yourself in that position and see how long you can stand still and where the weight is. Over on the right, you have another ogre, still scary, though not as dynamic. 2 feet on the ground, easy to balance, arms are close to the sides, kind of tucked in, still holding things, that's okay, but more symmetrical as far as where the arms and legs go. So your assignment is a sculpture design. So after you research your Kachina, create a drawing that you will use for reference when you create your sculpture. You're going to want to look at different ways the same Kachina is made. And remember that what you are drawing, you'll be turning into a three-dimensional sculpture. So to turn it in, you're going to photograph it and upload it and put the name of the Kachina in the comments, or you could write it on your drawing. Over here on the right, and I did not do this, is a butterfly maiden with her headdress and her bare feet, and she's holding feathers and has the flowers and the little feathers coming off the sides. Okay, so looking at your resources that I have for you, you have the 6-minute Kachina carving video and the Kachina dolls, which is 2 minutes. Start with this one and then go to this one. And then you have 2 links. The All Tribes link might be blocked. It was blocked in school one of the days we did this, and I requested it to be unblocked, but not sure. So let's click on this one. And if you scroll down, it tells you about the big types, the chief Kachinas, and the ogres, warriors, runners, and then it goes down through animals, and then we have the list of individual Kachinas, and this goes on for 2 pages. It will tell you a little bit about the Kachina and what they do, so you can kind of see one that you're attracted to, and then when you choose something, like, let's choose, what are we going to choose? Let's choose a chili pepper. Okay, he's a runner. So we're going to go and open up a Google, and we're going to search for chili pepper Kachina. And images. And then you see different versions of the chili pepper Kachina, more modern versions. Older versions tend to be more straight and not as complicated, but you can get inspiration. And make sure you're looking at the right thing. Here it's pretty easy to tell which ones are chili peppers, and then when you get down the page, all of a sudden you are in other guys. This is one of the whippers, and over here we've got a yucca, and we have a corn, and things like that. But base your design on whichever one you choose. Okay? That's it, and we'll start with the armature tomorrow.